Alright, so, case Leighton Morse. I knew him from Chapel, Nebraska. He was friends of mine. And sometimes we hung out over at his house, well, his mom's house. Or we hung out down at the motel. We were friends. He never tried to touch me inappropriately. He never tried to start a fight with me when he was drunk. He didn't try to, nothing like that. Just like most Nebraskans, he's highly opinionated, and his rules are different for him than they are for others. That's part of the reason for posting up what I posted up. It's also part of the reason that I picked the picture that I did. That's from his profile. The things that he wrote on there, the way that he didn't like people treating him, it's exactly the way he's been treating me for 5 years. Because telling the truth just wasn't that important. I just didn't matter. He says he doesn't care anymore. He never did. Before Natalie died, I was trying to tell him what was going on. He was busy telling me how to think and how to feel. At least he admitted to his addictions. I mean, that does help to show part of what I've been saying. I mean, who do I have to go to? Did sober people really accept me as a human being? No. It's the drunks and the druggies and of course power mongers, people who want to take advantage of me, take advantage of my situation. Those ones are even worse than the alcoholics. They're even worse than the drug addicts because they're calculated in what they do, and because they're sober, they're very good at it. When they want to manipulate people through giving them free drugs or free alcohol, or, well, there's a great many things, aren't there? So Case, he didn't want to find out what was going on, didn't bother, didn't try. Says I dragged his name through the mud. Like with all these people, I told the truth about them. Now, there's one person, Peaches, that's Kayla Trujillo. She's the one person through all of this that can kind of, sort of say I slandered her. Sort of. But then again, it's a matter of opinion on that one, because as far as the true sense of the word goes, as far as the dictionary definition, absolutely not. However, according to her moral beliefs, which are quite askew, I can understand how she would see it that way. Just like I can see how Case Leighton Morse would, how he'd consider this kicking him in the teeth. Well, I consider what he did kicking me in the teeth. He was involved. Now, I was gonna try to lay out the story with him beforehand, but I suppose playing the thing and speaking of it on that note as it goes through and explaining, basically breaking it down like I do with a lot of these videos. Break it down how the rules are different, or how they try to turn it on me by getting extremely condescending and, like he does with my family. We'll get into that just shortly. Meanwhile, there's people like Sarah, and she's starting to look at stuff now. She was gonna look at it way, way back at the beginning. And, well, I've got her reasons recorded. It's not for God and everybody to know necessarily. There's a lot of people who they want to pretend that they didn't know nothing. When I have conversations with them, they verify a lot of stuff that, obviously, if they're able to verify it, they knew it. So if they knew it, how can they say I don't know nothing? Well, because they never tried. Those people who say I don't know nothing and I wasn't involved, I don't want to be involved, and so on and so forth. Well, that's their choice to say that. The fact that it's dishonest is even worse. Case Leighton Morse, the last time that I saw him in person, this is after Natalie's death. This is after he'd already abandoned me. This is after he'd already been a jerk quite a bit. By that point, yeah, I wasn't very nice with him. But when I saw him in person, he was excited to see me, and I was excited to see him. Who I am in person is completely different from the person that you guys get on the internet. But these people all want to forget. That's pretty important to them. Forgetting how things really are. Forgetting who I am in real life. Me and Case both moved to Chapel. Neither one of us grew up there since kindergarten, so we weren't the popular kids. We weren't the ones that everybody wanted to be friends or friendly with. That didn't stop me from opening up and being as friendly as I could, and I took a lot of bullying. Now, there's more than one night that I hung out over at Case's, over at his mom's house, stayed the night. We were quite a bit younger. We'd go over and we'd get some pot from Dave Roop at Stretch, $40 a quarter. Oh my God. Nebraska, it's illegal. Colorado, Oregon, Washington State, California, all these places that I've been to, it's legal. Matter of fact, it's legal to the point that well, I'm not going to tell you how cheap it is out here. Dispensaries all over the place. Thank goodness it wasn't just Colorado, because Colorado was getting bad because it took a little bit for people to follow suit, but they finally did. Let's get to the real nitty-gritty of it. Case Morris and his mom, they both got in trouble for selling meth in Chapel. It's like they went out of their way to pick the lowest people on the totem pole. It was stupid. It's surprising they got only those two, but they didn't get the higher ups. Now, Case Morris wants to pretend that I was dragging his name through the mud. No, tell him the truth, ain't dragging the name through the mud. Not even close. When Matt Worley and all them turned into really bad meth junkies, Case Leighton Morris was the only one that kept a level head. He's the only one that remained my friend, who was actually a friend. He's the only one that stuck around. He's the only one that didn't rip me off or take advantage of me. But just like his post with his picture, he wasn't too good at listening. There's a lot of times where I sat down and I listened to Case telling me his problems, and this is what I did in Boulder, Colorado. By the way, the people in Boulder, Colorado, were a lot worse with that because they got into this routine of whenever there was a problem, they could go to Starbucks Sean and tell Starbucks Sean about all their problems. Some days that's all I did was listen to people's problems over and over again. Whatever I was doing, people expected me to stop it. If I was trying to get an education on something, I actually had to pull up video games on my computer. And when I saw somebody walk into the Starbucks that was likely to come talk to me for an hour, I'd put in my headphones and pretend I was playing a video game. And it is something I feel bad for, but at the same time, I had to get work done. I had to try to get myself unhomeless, get a job, learn how to do stuff on the computer. I'd been paying people to teach me how to do stuff on the computer, and they were just taking my money. That guy's name was Josh Hughes, by the way. So, Case Morris, when take you back to 2003 after high school, I'm staying at my place, basically, but it's the power's off and everything, City of Chapel screwed me over pretty big, and I just recently lost my job. It was just not a good thing. I hadn't had a friend in a good long while. They pretty much all moved out of town. I was stuck with the bigots and the racists, or the meth heads that used to be my friends. So I went over to the Empire Motel, which was owned by Crystal Worley. That's Matt Worley's mom. And I was going to hang out with Case Morris, and I was going to hang out with Matt Worley, and, well, that didn't end up happening, because they wanted to go into Matt Worley's room and smoke a bunch of meth, and basically they told me they'd be out in 5 minutes. So me and Eva Worley sat down on the couch and watched cartoons for about 4 hours. Then they came out and said, well, we'll be out in 5 minutes. 4 hours later, they still hadn't come out. Or 4 hours later, they finally came out. You know, finally, I went, screw it, you know. If I got to do this stuff to hang out with my friends, I'll do it to hang out with my friends. I tried it for about 30 days. And like I said, that was 2003. That's when I first went homeless in Boulder, Colorado. Matt Worley had stolen his, after, pretty much that whole 30 days, I was living underneath Matt's bed. I was sleeping under his bed. Before you go saying that's crazy, his bed was about 4 foot elevated off the floor. Pretty big guy. So there was lots of room under there, and I mostly slept most of the time. Of course, when you've slept 4 or 5 days in a row, because that's the reaction that stuff has with you, you have the opposite reaction to everybody else. After 4 or 5 days of sleeping through most of those days, when you wake up, you're not going to sleep for a day or two. So then, of course, my brain's not working, and I'm going, oh my God, these used to be my friends. What the hell am I doing? And Matt Worley went and stole a bunch of his mom's tools and traded them for more. I found out about it from his mom, Crystal. I was like, man, I'm out of here. You're stealing from family. No way in hell. I can't. If you're willing to steal from family, what else are you willing to do? But Matt Worley didn't roll over on his dealer. No, he gave him some bogus name, some other dude that I know, who ended up pleading guilty just because he was afraid. Of course, they only were charging him with weed, which Matt Worley got busted with meth. Gross. So me and Case kind of sort of stayed friends throughout the years, and he got married and all that. I went to Virginia. Virginia went bad, and on the way back, that's when Case got a hold of me. You know, I'm driving back from Virginia in 2016, and things are not going well, and he's messaging me, trying to tell me, all that stuff people tell you. It'll be all right, man. Just just forget about it. I got back to Boulder though, and that's not how it was. I got back to Boulder, and I was excited, and I was posting about how excited I was. I was glad to be home, but it didn't take long. I mean, Maddie Boa, that's the young woman who started the rumors in Boulder. That's the meth dealer who is spreading the rumors in Boulder. And you've gotten to hear from these people. I mean, Case Morris admitted to his meth addiction, and that's a good thing. That only helps me. But look at the government services that you guys keep sending me to. Look how they treat me. Look how they act. Look how many times they've hung up as soon as they find out I'm homeless, or as soon as they find out I'm trying to turn in officers. Hanging up immediately. Look at how many times that I've been arrested for trying to turn in the same exact officers. Look how many times I've been forced to go to the exact officers I'm trying to turn in people like Robert Franklin Warnick, the registered sex offender. He was charged with sexual assault against a child. And the cops helped him to get away. Why wouldn't they? I've been trying to get a day in court against them for years by that point, with Nebraska State Patrol ignoring me until the day that, well, they assisted in assaulting me. With Case Morris, for him, it was just, oh, well, Natalie disappeared, and then, I blocked Sean pretty much immediately, and that was the end of it for me. That's how it was for Case. That's how it was for a lot of people. And I got recordings, many recordings. There's a woman named Sarah, and I'm hoping that she'll be able to speak her piece. I mean, she was telling me earlier today that her and her family and her husband were being threatened. She said, "We're all tough." That's the way that she put it. She said, "We're all tough." But the fact is, they were threatened. Nearly everybody who tried to help me was threatened. Most of them, people were threatening their children, and that's one of the things that made it scary about going to anyone who had children. Yeah, people did. And I did record it. Now, I probably should have prepped the recording with Sarah before I started this, that way I could play it, but the fact is, when I got back to Boulder and I was excited and all of that stuff started, and Case Morris, I was really in the dumps. I couldn't go to Boulder without having to worry about threats, harassment, and assaults. I was cut off from my support network, and Case Morris wanted me to, people want you to do stuff. Their idea to stop the abuse is to pretend it's not happening by doing something else, or pretend that you're not disabled by telling you to do something that you'd be able to do if you weren't disabled. Well, he knew me before I was disabled. That's not to say I wasn't always autistic, because I've always been autistic, but I never considered it a disability. The disability is the word mentally ill, and the way that you treat people over your assumptions of it. We got people that say, "Oh, I don't think of it that way." The general public does, okay? The way that they have treated me, and the reason that all of this on the internet is so important is because this on the internet, all of these different Natalie sites spreading the same slander has resulted in a lot of abuse, and Case doesn't want to hear anything about any of it. Meanwhile, the narrative that was sold and the situation that he was aware of are miles apart. I was excited to finally be home, and I had a vehicle. When you're carrying a backpack in Boulder, Colorado, you want to talk about racism? We need to classify the homeless as a race, okay? We need to classify them as a religion, as something, so that this victimization stops. People want to look the other way, especially if you're a male. They want to say those dismissive things. And when you say, "Hey, will you please talk to me like an adult?" they're not capable. Meanwhile, I take the abuse. It wouldn't take him hardly nothing to admit the truth. The things that he said to me, why can't he say those things publicly? When he said, "You're the most honest person I know," why couldn't he say that publicly? What was he afraid of? Why did he go scurry underneath a rock like a cockroach? Just like Sage. It's because there are some things that you just don't say unless they're true, because people will scatter to the four winds, and that poor man will be stuck trying to defend himself against, in this case, because it was all over the news and it's all over the internet, and people keep making that stuff on the internet, and all of these people that I said, "Hey, all I want you to do is look at the evidence, share the evidence, get the word out there." But they couldn't do that for me. All of them were capable. No matter how many times I explained it, it's like somebody scrambled their brains and made it so that they could not comprehend simple English. I'm posting up the evidence to show you. Are you looking at it? Are you? Please look. It's not just about Natalie. It's about the fact that I went to these people for help before Natalie was killed. I went to Case for help before Natalie was killed. I went to Ken and Leah for help before Natalie was killed. I went to Kara Heller for help before Natalie was killed. That's the lady through the Colorado Coalition of the Homeless, the caseworker. I went to Jeff Ritter through Colorado Coalition of the Homeless before Natalie was killed. I went to all the people that you're supposed to go to. I jumped through all of the hoops that you're supposed to jump through. Now let's find my telephone and play this stuff from Case, because it's been going on a while, hasn't it? Well, there's Sarah, and I'm going to try to hopefully get a conversation with her and hopefully record a video about what she saw and what she knew, and it's quite a bit. But right now, we're specifically looking for the stuff from Case Leighton Morse, aren't we? So let's find it. Case Morse. We'll go up to the very first one and we'll play it. Now, mind you, this is after 5 years of, he wasn't a part of a whole lot of it. He wasn't. But his part of the story shows the same thing with nearly all of these people. The things that you're not supposed to say, the things that are dismissive. You don't want to hear that they're dismissive because they sound pretty to you. They sound pretty. It sounds like pretty advice. It sounds like good advice. You just got to love yourself. That doesn't fix the problem. That doesn't stop the abuse, and the abuse is ongoing. Looking away does not stop it. Now, in many cases, like Sammy Leon Lawrence IV, I helped to get the word out for him, and I will still help to get the word out for him. He deserved more money than he got. So do all of the homeless in Boulder County, though. If they were to pay all of the homeless people that they victimized that bad or worse, that's nearly all of the homeless people in Boulder County. That's a lot of money. But Zaid Atkinson had a house and he had support. He had a place to work on this stuff. He typed, wow, I've never done skit to you talked bad against you, but when someone's life doesn't fit your agenda, you shit all over them. Sorry, got my own life and my own shit, fuck off. My agenda is to show the truth. That's not a horrible thing, especially given the abuse that myself and many others are enduring. These people knew me to be honest, and I've known them to look away. So having to go to these people to try to get help, it's horrible. This is what it's really like when you're called mentally ill. This is what it's really like when you're a male. This is what it is really like when you're homeless. This is what it is really like. I typed, you unfriended me and looked away before Natalie's body was cold 5 years ago. You might have a leg to stand on if it was 2 weeks, but 5 years is more than just your own shit. You forgot who I am, Case. That's on you. They make a Natalie Bollinger movie. It will be bullshit, but you don't care. You showed that 5 years straight. I also showed the recording I made. I typed, it was supposed to be 27 minutes long. Bad connection. See, I'll record it offline and download it so people can hear every word. I'll send you the link when it's finished. Obviously, I read the typos as well. If it's a typo, whether it's mine or Case's or obviously Natalie's from the other day, yesterday, I believe. Yeah, there's a lot of typos in there. Some people don't spell as well as others. Sometimes word prediction does its thing. Now you get to hear, he gets angry, he gets yelly, he gets shouty.
Well, here's the situation. It'll be short and sweet, unlike the shit that you fucking sent me that has nothing to do with the fucking goddamn price of cheese in fucking China. I've never done you wrong, never had any intention to do any wrong. Just because you think that I did something, tough shit, dog.
Something wrong. Well, the fact that he was a part of it, even in only a small part. You think that I changed overnight? Do you think that I want to be this jerk that screams and shouts to try to get help? People say, oh, you just want attention. You say the same thing about the girl who's cutting on herself. Oh, she's just doing it for attention. Why? Why does she need that attention? Just for attention's sake? No, that is hardly ever the case. When it is the case, it is more common with women. That is why Munchausen by proxy is primarily considered a women's disease. That doesn't mean that everybody who's got Munchausen by proxy is a woman. It doesn't mean that every woman has Munchausen by proxy.
Fact of the matter is, my family has tried to help you out more than once. We would always allow something, feed you, give you a place to stay for the night. You know, we tried to help out your situation a little bit, but it's like that video with Ray Ray. Don't know who Ray Ray is or whatever. Didn't even watch the whole video, but sure sounds like you.
All right, he does know Ray Ray. That's Rand Ingersoll. Second of all, his family did not try to help me out. They absolutely did help me out. Big difference. They absolutely did. They absolutely did feed me. They absolutely did let me stay the night more than once. It's not like I stayed there for a whole month. I never even stayed there 2 nights in a row. Altogether, I had probably stayed less than 7 nights the entire time that they were living there. So it's not like I was trying to move in and not willing to contribute and anything like that. Like, I did a lot of work over there for them. When they asked, they said, hey, Sean, I need this done with the hedgerow. I need this done with this. I need this done with this. Hey, could you go clean out the rabbit pen? Well, it wasn't a rabbit pen back then, of course. It wasn't a rabbit pen until Jesse got a hold of it. That's the guy who bought it from them, or bought it from the bank, I suppose. They absolutely did help me. But the other thing is, all the stuff that he's talking about, that was all before Natalie died. Well before Natalie died. I mean, we're talking about decades ago. When he was getting a hold of me after I left Virginia, this is a whole year, over a year before Natalie was killed. It was 6 months before I had like a severe mental breakdown over that. The one that I had back in January, in December to January, because I'd talked to Miss Peaches to try to get help from her. Same thing as Case, same thing as everybody else, telling me what to think, what to do, what to feel. Do this, do that. Just let it go, just let it go. And what they're not understanding, the ones in Boulder that I was going to try to see in person, when we would set up an appointment to see each other, is that I had to set up an appointment so that I could meet them at that appointed time, because otherwise I was by myself until they got there, and that increases the safety risks. That increases the chances of one of Maddie Boa's customers of her meth coming up and making my life Hades. I want to play that one again, though.
Fact of the matter is,
Come on now. Scrolled all the way down. That is not cool.
fact of the matter is, my family has tried to help you out more than once. We would always allow something, feed you, give you a place to stay for the night. You know, we tried to help out your situation a little bit, but it's like that video with Ray Ray. Don't know who Ray Ray is or whatever. Didn't even watch the whole video, but sure sounds like you.
She's the lady who was drunk and beating on Amy Kingery's kids. She's the one that I contacted when there was that that pocket dial when I was at Candace Bondurant's in January of 2018. Rayanne is the one that I called to say, hey, is there a safe place that we could try to get? Because, see, Danica and Shelley were both telling me at this point how afraid they were that the cops weren't going to help them, that they were afraid of Ted, that they were terrified for themselves and their kids. I mean, yeah, what am I supposed to do? Meanwhile, there's also the situation with Carl Rogers saying, hey, they're threatening my family. With Sarah saying, people are threatening my family. You get to see with my sister how people are doing stuff to her. And They want to pretend like I'm schizophrenic while I have proof that these people literally are telling me these things. Case may not know a whole lot, but the little tiny bit that he does know, he does know. What did he tell me to do? Did he find out about the situation, or was he busy interrupting me and telling me how to think and how to feel? Creating a situation where only his words matter, where only he gets to speak, where only he gets heard, where his opinion is more important than hearing the facts. Like that scenario with the bridge I tell you guys about. How you've gotta build a bridge. It has to be done. You go to your friends for help, and of course they're busy giving suggestions, and you're like, hey, let's take a look at the river. Once you see it, you'll realize what the task is. You tell them how you need to build the bridge because you've seen the river. You know how fast the flow is. You know how deep it is. You know. You're aware. You've seen it. If they want to continue giving suggestions and they've got it in their head that you've only got to cross a little stream and you can put a couple of 2x4s across it or drop a log over the top of it and lo and behold you'll be able to cross it, and then they have it stuck in their head that it's that way, and no matter how much you try to explain to them what's going on, they're always going to interrupt you to tell you how to cross a creek. You're not trying to cross a creek, you're trying to cross a river. You're explaining to them, hey, I have this disability of the fact that it's a river and not a creek. Your solutions for crossing a creek, those are great solutions for crossing a creek, but we're not talking about a creek.
You treat her the same way you treat everybody else. You blame everybody for what your life situation. I can blame a lot of people for the fact that I'm strung out on fucking dope or anything, but you know what? Anything I've ever done, I did it because I did it. My life is shit because I did something or didn't do something.
Now, part of that is kind of true. See, he's basically ignoring all of the abuse that I've gone through. And the thing with Rayanna, just like with all these other people, I'm only blaming them for what they did. As far as blame goes, it didn't need to be a blame thing. Well, these are facts. These are things that actually happened. If they actually happened, it's not blame, it's cause and effect. If a ship gets a massive hole in the side and it sinks, it sank. That's a fact. The fact is the ship sank. How the hole got there is arbitrary. If you're busy arguing over whether or not there's a hole there and you're not doing anything to fix the hole, well then yes, the ship is going to sink. If you got a lifeboat, well, lucky you. If not, you're going down to the bottom of the ocean. That's just the way it is. Analogies, right?
You treat her the same way you treat everybody else. You blame everybody for what your life situation. I can blame a lot of people for the fact that I'm strung out on fucking dope or anything, but you know what? Anything I've ever done, I did it because I did it. My life is shit because I did something or didn't do something.
Now, I fessed up to all the stuff that I did. With Randy Ingersoll, she was smacking them kids around. She was drunk every day. She admitted in that video, obviously, he didn't listen to all of it. Probably didn't listen to more than 2 minutes of it. But I know it's in that video. I know that she admits in that video that it is not my fault. I know that she admits in that video. I know what she says in it. He wasn't even willing to look at that. Now, ignoring it when you have already been a part of it, when you've already been a part of the situation, and you just want to forget about it and avoid it. And then, of course, what does he have on the front of there? Complaints about how people basically aren't listening to him, how it's like he's speaking some foreign language. Well, He didn't find out anything that was going on before Natalie died. It's not that I didn't try, it's that he was busy talking over me. After Natalie disappeared, well, he decided to ignore me like I didn't exist, like I'd never gone to him for help, like I'd never tried. And that's everybody's solution, is to talk over me and tell me how to cross the friggin' creek. I typed, maybe instead of being mad at me, you try listening. Let me show that. And here's what he said after that.
I'm sorry that I had family at some point in my life to help me out. So that makes me a bad guy, right? Because your family left you high and dry. Sorry that my family tried to help you out more than once in life. So, for make things real fucking simple, fuck you. Fuck off.
Makes it all about him, all about this is some sort of personal insult against his family. His family did this in the past, so that makes it okay. I mean, basically, anything that he can do to avoid it. Anything that he can do to avoid telling the truth in order to avoid fessing up. It's not like he was somebody who was planning a murder with me or any crazy crap like that. No. There are people that know a lot more than he did. A lot more. Well, most of them got kids. Some of them he knows. Some of them he's friends with. Candace Bondurant is friends with him. Jamie Curtis is friends with him. Is he some sort of terrible monster for this? No, he's just not that bright. He don't make the connection in his head between his selfishness and the situation that he's in versus me and my situation. See, just like with Natalie, it was not Natalie's choice for people to assault me over what she had said. It was her choice not to come forward with the truth, knowing that I was being harmed. She didn't care that I was being harmed. Her sister didn't care that I was being harmed. Maddie Boa didn't care that I was being harmed. They didn't care that I was being harmed over slander. And meanwhile, I've got messages between me and Tim Beeson. That's Natalie's ex-boyfriend, the one who was threatening to kill himself while I was in Virginia. Him literally threatening to kill my family, threatening to kill me. He called me more than once prior to that to threaten to kill me. It wasn't until he messaged me in Facebook Messenger that I actually got evidence that I could positively identify. Prior to that, it was just random people being jerks. But it all came down to Maddie Boa said. It all came down to specifically they were mentioning girls in Virginia. What girls did I know in Virginia? Only 2 of them. And they were both adults by that point.
I have family members that I would have killed for it. But you know what? Some of those, fuck them. I don't give a fuck about them. Because then, you know what? You want to blame, you want to accuse, you want to say that because of something I did or didn't do, something this happened. Nah, dude. Live your own fucking life, bro. Fuck off. I'm done. Deuce.
It's called cause and effect. If you're walking by an alley and you see somebody raping somebody else, you can make the decision to walk away and to allow that person to get away with it. If you hear that person screaming while they're going through it, you didn't see it. I get that. You didn't see it. All you heard was the screaming. It doesn't occur to you at that point that, yeah, they had already gone to you on several occasions about what they're going through, and you blew them off. Now they're being raped in an alley. They're screaming loud enough that you can hear them. They're going out of their way and screaming your name, please help. And you're looking the other way, hiding under a rock and saying, I didn't see nothing. I didn't hear nothing. Monkey see, monkey do, right? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. I'm not saying they never did anything for me. people always want to go back to that. Any excuse to treat me like crap for asking them to talk to me like a human being. To admit that, at least admit that I had gone to them for help. Now, if they could do that, I wouldn't be explaining on here how they treated me when I went to them for help, how they blew me off, how they talked over me, or talked down to me, or berated and belittled me. Most of these people, they tell me, hey, Sean, you're the smartest person I know. As soon as they found out I was autistic, it was like, all of a sudden, I must be too stupid to know up from down, left from right, red from blue. I blame me for what I did. I admitted all of my worst sins on Facebook before Natalie Bollinger was killed. I typed, and this right here is you avoiding an adult conversation. I really did type that, just making sure you're all aware of it.
Be mad at you, dude. I don't give a fuck about you. That's just it. You've done fucked me off. Say fuck you, you don't care. Fuck you, you don't care. Fuck you, you don't. Guess what? You're right. I don't fucking care no more. I don't fucking care, dude. I give a fuck about me and mine. Period. And if you wrong me, you ain't mine.
Now it's a good thing I don't go by that. If you wrong me, you ain't mine. No, even if you wrong me, I still love you. He wronged me quite a bit. Didn't care. Threw me away. Couldn't even admit that I'd gone to him for help. And I had gone to him for help. But here he wants to be angry and screamy and spiteful and, well, you guys sure hate it when I do that. You sure treat me like I'm a villain when I do that. But anybody who doesn't make any excuse for them. Any excuse why it's okay for them to do it to me. Any excuse to change the rules. It's okay for them, but not for you. It's okay for this color, but not for you. It's okay for this gender, but not for you. It's okay for people with this income, but not for you. It's okay for people who have family members that'll actually get involved. Of course, what happened with my family? Well, there was my mom and my child molester little brother trying to discourage my sister from helping me. And then she was threatened and harassed by police. Pretty common. It's not like I haven't been telling on Dual County Sheriff's Department since at least 2017 for this particular sheriff. I've been speaking out about the cops in Chapel, Nebraska since going all the way back to Jim Hayes. And I got some recordings with a few people in town about that, including Rose Melvin. By the way, she's dead too. But I've got a recording with her on my YouTube. Anyway, I type, and this right here is you avoiding an adult conversation. We haven't had an actual conversation since Natalie was killed, or since she disappeared. The one time I saw him, he was too drunk to realize what was really even going on. Right after he broke up with his wife, probably from being like this.
Be mad at you, dude. I don't give a fuck about you. That's just it. You've done fucked me off. Say fuck you, you don't care. Fuck you, you don't care. Fuck you, you don't. Guess what? You're right. I don't fucking care no more. I don't fucking care, dude. I give a fuck about me and mine. Period. And if you wrong me, you ain't mine.
Yep. And now he gets to eat those words.
And saying that I was involved, I don't know what the fuck that shit was, but about my involvement in Natalie, dude, I don't even know who the fuck Natalie is. Other than a friend of yours, I'm sorry. She was murdered by some low-life fuck. That wasn't you. Now, mind you, I didn't say that.
And he's absolutely right. Natalie was murdered by some low-life fuck. Joseph Michael Lopez. I didn't reach out to him before Natalie was killed for help with the situation with Natalie being killed, because obviously she had not been killed yet. All of these people that I reached out to before Natalie disappeared, before Natalie Bollinger was killed, that I reached out to before that, what did I reach out to them for? Why did I reach out to them? Why did I reach out to Case Leighton Morse? Why did I reach out? Why did I reach out to Joanna Taylor Smith? Why did I reach out to Anna Hunka, who is also dead, by the way? Why did I reach out to Derek Parrish? Why did I reach out to Derek's mom, Janine, who is also dead, by the way? Why did I reach out to these people before Natalie was killed? Why did I reach out to Mark Swanigan? Why did I reach out to Mobley, who is also dead, by the way? Why did I reach out to Christine Muhit, who is also dead, by the way? Why did I reach out to these people before Natalie was killed? Why? Why did I go see Nicole Peralta in Sydney, Nebraska? She was my therapist through Region 1, the first one. Why was I going to see Tamara? Why was I going to Brenda Dickinson for help before Natalie was killed? Why was I going to these people for help? And why was I trying to get help afterwards? You have any idea the kind of abuse that I have been through since? All because, well, I needed a safe place after Natalie was killed, and I was forced into homelessness because she was killed. It's obvious I didn't kill her. People want to keep pushing this stalking thing. I didn't stalk her. I was begging her to put a stop to the people who are stalking me, which included her. Please, call off the dogs. One of the emails that people want to ignore the most is the one where it shows that. Several of them, actually. Where I sent her emails, and by the way, it was a grand total of 6 days. Not close to every day. It was 6 days total. Those were days when either I had just been assaulted by somebody, or I was trying to go to Boulder to see people without being assaulted. One of those, she's typing to me that she's going to call the cops. I said, call the cops. Give them my number. Have them call me. Have them call me. Yes, I was trying to do it the right way. I was trying to explain to the police, but she never gave them my number. They never called to investigate. They never called to find out what was going on. They ignored me until Natalie was shot in the head. Now, that's not Case's fault, but at the same time, I was trying to get help that entire year. That is the whole point of this, is that I did go to these people who claim to care, claim to love me, and they want to throw things that they did 20 years ago in my face. No, it was not his fault that these things were happening to me. It was his choice not to listen. It was his choice not to speak out. It was his choice to do nothing about it. It was his choice to look away.
And saying that I was involved, I don't know what the fuck that shit was, but about my involvement in Natalie, dude, I don't even know who the fuck Natalie is. Other than a friend of yours, and I'm sorry. She was murdered by some low-life fuck. That wasn't you. Now, mind you, I didn't say that.
In order to stop the abuse before Natalie was killed, I needed help. I needed someone to speak up. Someone. I typed, I'm going to go back and listen to them now because I ain't scared to hear it. Then we can talk like humans, and I sent him my phone number.
I don't give a fuck, dude. You're right. I don't give a fuck. People I care about, I don't really give a fuck.
Well, then he doesn't care
I'm
about
done
them.
giving a fuck. Because when you give a fuck, people fuck you over.
That's right.
Deuces, brah. Enjoy your life. Hope it works.
Like Randy Ingersoll. Like Amy and Andrew Witcher. Like Natalie Bollinger. Like Jamie Curtis. A lot of these people just straight up manipulated me because they'd already manipulated everybody else in their damn life. Jamie, she was always very pretty. Oh, she had a gap between her teeth when she was a kid, so she got made fun of that for that quite a bit. But then she got braces, and she was one of the prettiest girls in town, and she loved it. She went from the person that everybody picked on to the person everybody wanted to, well, not date really. You guys
I'm not avoiding a conversation. I'm just not having one. Because I don't want to fucking have it. I got no fucking need for your shit in my life. No need. I don't need it. I don't have to have it. I don't give a fuck. I have feelings. I'm a human. I got shit. I feel bad.
And you can hear with his tone that he's being very condescending, very hateful, very angry. It's okay for him, it's not okay for me. He's not going through the abuse, but the thing is, he could do something. He could say the things that he told me. He could have spoken those words before Natalie was ever killed. He didn't try. Matter of fact, he was pretty rude a few times. It's alright though, isn't it? I'm a male, we deserve this, blah blah blah. For all these people, I remember the good things they did for me. I remember when they let me have a job doing something that they didn't want to do because I needed some food. Yeah, sometimes I went over there and all I would get was something to eat for working. But you know what? It was worth it. They fed me well. It was worth going out there and doing the yard work. It was worth going out there and doing whatever they asked me to do. It was worth taking all the garbage out of the basement. It was worth it. Even if it was just a meal, even if it was just $5. At that point in my life, anything was better than nothing, and he's right about me not having that family support. But I didn't treat him like he's a horrible person for having family support. I explained to him that it's different for me. I don't have that. I need someone to speak up. He knew me. He knows who I am. He knew my character. But after Natalie died, he didn't care. He was too busy running with his tail between his legs for the hills. All I needed these people to do was admit that I'd gone to them for help. But you know what? If I got to explain how they treated me when I went to them for help, you get to hear it. Yeah, this is after 5 years of me starting off with, hey man, please, dude, come forward. Well, I don't know nothing. Really? Talk to me. Call me up and talk to me like a human being. Do you remember in 2016 when I left Virginia? Do you remember the conversations we had? Hey, Case, do you remember when you were trying to have me learn how to be a crane operator? That was your solution, that you wanted me to do that's what you were pushing on me, that you were interrupting me and talking over me, so you never found out what was even going on. But that does not detract from the fact that I went to you for help. And you could have just said that, hey, Sean did come to me for help before Natalie was killed. You didn't have to even admit to all the stuff that you screwed up with or the way that you treated me. All I was asking for you to do is admit that I'd gone to you for help. And that was too much for you.
More than once, you've ran my shit through the fucking dirt. Saying I'm a bad person because of this. I'm a bad person because of that. I've always had shit fucking handed me because I've had family. Fuck you, dude. Fuck off. I'm done. This is it. Not again. Last message. Deuces. Kick rocks, bitch.
And that's that whole white privilege thing I keep hearing about, right? Some of us start off with more advantages than others. Some of us have a lot, some of us have a little. That does have a bearing on your life. You get to see this one in a million thing where somebody was able to go from rags to riches, but they had a lot of help. They met the right people and they got the right hookups and they got extremely lucky. You look at the rap biz. There's a lot better rappers out there than what we got that's famous. But those ones that are famous were the ones that were lucky enough to run into who they needed to and get hooked up. People want to say, oh, well, it's drive and determination. Without drive and determination, I'd have never made it. Well, you guess what? If it wasn't for luck, if it wasn't for the people that you met, it wouldn't matter how much drive and determination you got if nobody's listening, if nobody's looking, if nobody cares. If people are just going to look away, if they can't even admit that you went to them for help, if they're going to run for the hills without even finding out what's going on or making any attempt to find out what's going on. Case's family done ditched him. They didn't want him anymore. That sucks for him too. That ain't my fault. It ain't my choice any more than it was his choice for my family to do what they did to me. I don't blame him for what my family did to me. I don't blame him for my family looking away. I don't blame him for my family trying to scare my sister into not helping me. I don't blame him for Kim Martinez telling me, oh, your mom tried to help you. Like hell she did. My mom did everything that she could to try to change the subject and prevent the one person who was willing to try to help me from actually helping me. My mom was pissed off I was at the funeral, but guess what? That's because I told the truth about my mom too. You may not know much, but you know more than nothing. The person I was before all of this and the person that I've had to be since came down to whether or not people were willing to even admit that I went to them for help. I wasn't just trying to tell them what was going on, I was trying to show them what was going on, and I was met with violence more than once. People like Pierre Byron saying, yeah, I'll meet you at Starbucks on Broadway and University. That's the same one that I was going to meet Natalie Bollinger at. These people sold a narrative, this mentally ill narrative that made me a target. And you know what? There are people like Leighton Morse who know me, who have known me for years, who know that I'm not some sort of violent schizophrenic. I'm not hallucinating the things that happened. I'm not hallucinating living under Matt Worley's bed, and he can admit to that. I wasn't hallucinating the fact that I was involved in the same activities that they were. I was smoking the same crap. I left Chapel, Nebraska to get away from that crap. I left Chapel, Nebraska to start a new life. I knew that if I quit doing that stuff because I didn't like it, then they would be paranoid of me hanging out, and then I wouldn't have my friends anymore. I left. I went to Boulder, Colorado. I went and saw my older brother, Eric, and that became my home. Boulder, Colorado became my home. In Chapel, Nebraska, I stuck up for homosexuals. I stuck up for minorities. I stuck up for the underdogs. And in Chapel, Nebraska, that makes you a target. But in Boulder, Colorado, I was allowed to be who I am in real life. That is my home. These police and these city council members have destroyed my home. And they've killed a lot of my loved ones the same way that Selena Not Afraid was killed. It's called exposure to the elements. You make immoral laws that make it illegal for 4,000 homeless people, only 122 beds. So how many people are you making it illegal for them to sleep at night with a blanket? You tell them to get a job. Meanwhile, the places that they get a job are open during the day primarily. In order for them to get a job there, they have to not be sleeping during the day. But they have to sleep during the day because if they sleep at night, they get a ticket that's going to cost them 40 hours of community service for one of the charges, 20 hours of community service for another one of the charges, and over $400 in fines plus the court fees. And then you've got your day that you have to go to court, or they issue a warrant for your arrest. And that's just for one night that you got busted. The laws make it so that you have to find ways around immoral laws so that you can even survive or exist, let alone try to jump through the hoops to get a job. You got to find somebody like me at Starbucks who's got a computer, who's willing to let people use it to contact their families who they haven't spoken to in a while. When they lose their ID, they can contact the places and people they need to. If they're trying to apply for a job, especially with it all being online these days, they can apply for a job online with my computer if they need to. Now, there's a lot of stuff going all the way back, just like with Brett Roloff. You got to see what I showed you with him. There's a lot. It goes back quite a ways. It verifies I was telling the truth every step of the way. Now, whether he wants to admit it or not, I already saved the screenshot, so what's the point in lying? What's the point in being a dick? Richard. Sorry, Richard. Yeah, I'm sorry his life sucks. If there was a part of it that I was involved in, and, there's been a few times that he's told me about, well, he often tells me about his personal problems when I call him for help, to call him and try to get him to understand the situation. But the thing is, it wasn't calls, it was him talking. And obviously, with him being the way that he's been, just ignoring me since Natalie's death, pretending I don't exist. Yeah, he's sorry that Natalie died. He's sorry that that happened. But at the same time, in 5 years, he hasn't stopped to listen to what's going on, stopped to care. Obviously, he doesn't care. He's saying, oh, well, I don't care now. No, you never did, Case. You had your chance. You had your chance to show the truth. You had your chance to speak the truth. At least I tried. There's also the fact that a lot of this I could have shown when I had that phone that I had when Natalie was killed, and even a few phones since then that were lost or stolen. Well, all the rest of them were stolen. I only lost one phone. And I'd been trying to force the cops to take a look at it for months by that point in Colorado and Nebraska. But all these people just allowed this mentally ill thing to happen, allowed these people to hurt me. Case Morris didn't say that he was going to speak up, but a lot of other people did. Todd Ryan Case claimed that he was going to speak up. Now he claims he's afraid of getting shot. Even used Martin Luther King Jr. as his reference. Well, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. got shot. Miss Peaches, that's Kayla Trujillo, claimed that she was going to come forward, that she was going to go in with me so I could make a report safely. Same thing with Graham. That's Graham Milburn. Or Milborn. And he's not the only one. I mean, all these places that I went to. Graham, for example, I paid him to help me go through evidence and help me to look at it. But every time it came for him to actually take the time to do that and look at it, well, that was the situation with Tabby's baby daddy. His name was Joshua Eichelberger. He was an extreme alcoholic, and every time that Graham was going to sit down and help me out, Joshua needed Graham absolutely then and there. Of course, Graham, he was not exactly loyal to his best friend. That was supposed to be his best friend. No, Graham's dating Tabby now. But Graham, he's in a few of my videos on here too. Like the stuff that Ted and Alicia Bollinger were doing at my grandma's funeral. That was months after they found the guy who killed her. All of the head games that they've played, all of the things that they have done, I fess up for the things that I did. But the things that I did were in the commission of trying to save lives, because nobody would hear me. Not Case Morris, not Candace Bondurant, not Jeremiah Jensen, not Brandon Jepson. No, I didn't matter. Their opinions are what mattered. Looking at evidence was absolutely beyond their pay grade, apparently. But stabbing me in the back wasn't. Looking the other way wasn't. It's a good thing I recorded these people. It's also sad that I had to.